Welcome back to our discussion on the consumer behavior from our textbook Introductory Macroeconomics, the chapter 2. We have learned last class about the um, indifference curve that a consumer would have, giving him the same satisfaction, same level of satisfaction, whatever be the goods he consume. And also, secondly, we have learned about the budget set, where a consumer, knowing his income and knowing the price of two goods, has different bundles that he would like to choose. But today's session, using those two, will arrive at the optimum choice of the consumer that gives him the highest level of satisfaction. So, what's that optimum level? Let's go back to what we have learned. The budget set. The budget set, we know, M, the income, and P1 and P2, the price of mangoes and bananas. You have so many available bundles that you would like to choose. But the question is, what are the bases? What on what basis would he, as a consumer, choose the many bundles available to him? Although we know a consumer has preferences, he would prefer one over the other. But between the two bundles available to him, he would either prefers one or indifferent between the two. He would like one over the other, or one and the other are indifferent to him. So that makes him having the bundles to the side. And what makes him helps him in making that decision, that is what we have to use the other tools. So before we go into that optimum um, level of bundles that he would choose, remember, one of the assumption that we assume for the consumer like you and I is that he is always a rational man. And a rational man always knows what is good, what is bad from his consumption, and knowing that he has limited amount of resource, he would try to use that resource, that amount of money, to achieve the best for himself or herself. You want to, the best means the maximum possible satisfaction. We know he has references, and so he acts on those references to choose one that gives him the maximum satisfaction. He has to choose one. At the end of the day, he has to consume, even though he has so many bundles. It's not it, but he has to choose one. So how he could choose that one is that we have to make use of the budget set and the indifference curve. So we know budget set gives you the bundles. You can either buy 0 and 4, or 1 and 3, or 3 and 1. Remember the last example? Those are the many bundles. Not it, but he would choose the one that the amount he spends is equal to the amount that he has in his pocket, given his preferences. Okay, and also we know that the consumer has its own map of many different curves showing his level of satisfaction. So a consumer, you remember the indifference curve, the IC curve. If you have the indifference curve 1, indifference curve 2, indifference curve 3, you know that the one that at the top will always give him the maximum satisfaction. So if you consider this red indifference curve, it means if you choose here, you'll buy these two combinations, this much of mangoes and this much of banana. If you choose B, this much of mangoes and this much of banana. A and B and C and D and so many along the curve gives him the same satisfaction. He's indifferent. It's not that. So which one he would choose? That's what we want to see. But we all know that he will always try to move to the point on the highest possible indifference curve possible for him, given her budget set. He wants to move this one. IC, so to say IC3. Not it. This one, not the red one. He would rather have consumed here because it gives him some satisfaction maximum. But it depends on his budget set, the amount of money, because in our early example, M is equal to 20. So by having 20 rupees, he can either buy all here of mangoes and all here's of banana. It's not it. It it means that this is the only level that he can the only line that gives him the option to buy with the constraint of his income. So we have to make use of these two, the income that limits his power of buying, and compare with his indifference curve. Where does this curve touch this budget set that will give him the maximum satisfaction? Okay, so let's go back and we say that the optimum point would be located on the budget line. He would always buy on the budget line because that is possible for him. He can buy below the budget line, but it doesn't give him the maximum satisfaction, as you know, because he doesn't spend all the amount of money. But if he buys anything along the line, all his money will be spent. Remember that, not it? A point below cannot be optimum, not possible to give him the maximum satisfaction. Okay, but a point above, you also know that a point above doesn't have the capacity because he has only 20 rupees. If he consume above the line, he has to have more money, but that's not the case for example. Okay, so the optimum, the most preferred bundle of the consumer would be on the budget line. He would always buy on any of these points because that is his capacity. Okay, and now if we make use of the budget line, we choose in the income and the indifference curve, this indifference curve or many indifference curve, but that matter, many indifference curve, we always try to see which indifference curve touches the budget line. When we say touches, it means it's tangent. The point at which the budget line just touches or is tangent to the one of the indifference curve would be the optimum. That is what we are looking at. Let's look at this figure. Not it? Here you have one indifference curve, two indifference curve, three indifference curve with this budget line. And any point on this budget line gives him the bundle that he would like to choose from. So if you choose here, if you choose this one point, it'll give him a satisfaction. Not it? Dissatisfaction of this first IC, lowest IC, gives him satisfaction. He could spend all amount of money, but we know he still have other indifference curve that are above him. So he would like to choose which one that will give maximum satisfaction. And the condition is that look at that indifference curve. It is tangent to the budget line, and we see this bold black curve is tangent, touches this budget line, and by doing so he will be able to get more satisfaction than this blue indifference curve because it's on the higher side. It's not it. So that's why this will be the point, this will be the point that he would like to choose. By doing so, it means that he could buy x1 of bananas and x2 of mangoes, x2 of mangoes. These will be the bundles, not the bundles of mangoes and bananas, and at the same time all the amount of money is spent. We remember the budget set. This will be one of the budgets. He can choose here, he can choose here, but they will not give him the maximum satisfaction. Only the one that touches, the one that is tangent, that is the optimum position, the optimum bundle. Remember, he wants to reach here, like I've said. This is another indifference curve, which is on the higher side, but we know it's not feasible for him because he cannot achieve that. He doesn't have the power to, he doesn't have the capacity to buy, to consume this level of the IC curve because it's beyond his reach. Okay, so this point here, x1 star, x2 star will be the one. Is that it? So the optimum bundle is located on the budget line. This is the budget line at the point where the budget line is tangent to an indifference curve. Remember that condition. That is the condition that gives the maximum satisfaction to the consumer. So let's look at the figure. Although we have done that, is that at it said at x1 x1 star, x2 star. Here these are the bundles. The budget line, this black bold line, is tangent to the black colored indifference curve that is achievable. Is not it? So the first thing to note is that the indifference curve that's just touching the budget line is the highest possible indifference curve given to the consumer budget set. Given here, you can consume any point on the line we've set. You can consume here, but consume here. But this gives him the highest possible combination. It's not it. Bundles on the gray curve, like I've said, not affordable. Bundles below on this yellow indifference curve, they are inferior. They don't doesn't it doesn't give him much satisfaction as on this black one. So any other point on the a budget line lies lower indifference curve and hence it's inferior. Therefore, the final position is this is the consumer's optimum bundle that will give him the highest possible satisfaction. So that's how you combine indifference curve and budget line. Indifference curve is satisfaction. Budget line is the budget and the price, and the income you talk about there. And that's the ordinal utility analysis to find where the consumer is in equilibrium. That's the optimum choice, optimum bundle.